When you enjoy an awesome game series, it's fun to play other games that take place in the same universe. But game publishers sometimes like to make their spin-offs completely crazy. Think about Mario and his careers as a professional golfer, football player, or… well, you got the idea. In this video, we want to look at 10 weird or surprising spin-offs. So let's grab a major franchise and let the main character do something that's completely out of the ordinary. Final Fantasy XV is a huge role-playing game about a prince and his buddies who are on a quest to rid their kingdom from evil and win back the throne. Along the way, you will be fighting monsters and all kinds of enemies as you level up, gain more powers, and have lots of bromance moments. Now, Square Enix is bringing us Monster of the Deep, Final Fantasy XV, a virtual reality fishing game.
Hey, you got a bite. Don't let up.
You get to interact with Noctis and his friends, but instead of going on an adventure with your bros, you need to fish at different locations. The goal is to catch a huge fish they call Monster in the title. Monster of the Deep sure looks to be a surprising spin-off, but there are more weird side games in the Final Fantasy series. More about that later in this video.
Oh yeah!
In the 90s, Street Fighter II took the world by storm. We have all played at least one game with characters like Blanca, Ryu, Chun-Li, or Dhalsim. The series spawned many sequels and versions, including Ultra Street Fighter II: The Final Challenges on the Nintendo Switch, for example. But nothing could prepare us for Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. Yes, they changed the fighting game into a puzzle game. The game was a response to Sega's popular Puyo Puyo games, and it featured some competitive mechanics that are found in Puyo Puyo. The gameplay consists of Street Fighter and Darkstalkers characters fighting while you do the puzzling. Weird to say the least. Capcom made Mega Man one of the biggest gaming icons of the late 80s. The NES alone got 6 games, and of course the Super Nintendo would get some of that Mega Man action as well. But nobody was prepared for what would happen next. Capcom launched Mega Man Soccer. Even though the game was set after the events of Mega Man 4, it doesn't have too much to do with the original action platform gameplay of the series, even though Mega Man is allowed to use his powers in Mega Man Soccer. Thankfully, the game is not as brutally hard as the side-scrolling main series, but that's about the only nice thing you can say about it.
These guys are playing for keeps, yeah? So…
The Uncharted series is really a favorite among PlayStation gamers. The first trilogy was very well received on the PlayStation 3. On the PS4, we saw an excellent remastered version of these 3 games, and then there's Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, of course. And let's not forget Lost Legacy launching this summer. All these games are full of story and cinematic action, and that's why Uncharted: Fight for Fortune was such a surprise. This game for the PlayStation Vita was a collectible card game. Now that sure slows down the pace and tones down the action. The House of the Dead is a great rail shooter series by Sega. Overkill was the 5th game in the franchise and has been made available for the Wii, PlayStation Move, and PC. This game is all about killing zombies and earning high scores. These games are great to play with a light gun or motion controller. However, that's not the weirdest peripheral you can use in the series. The spin-off The Typing of the Dead Overkill lets you hook up a keyboard. In this game, you need to type words to kill the zombie horde that's chasing you. Typing to kill zombies instead of shooting them. Sure, the core concept of killing zombies still stands, but this game is just teaching us to type as fast as possible. Who said games can't be fun and educational? Long ago, the Prince of Persia series was among the best gaming had to offer. In the late 80s, it launched as a side-scrolling action-adventure, and on the PlayStation 2, it became a great action series. But after that, the series lost its way.
War erupted among nations, causing pain and devastation.
Battles of Prince of Persia was released for the Nintendo DS, and even though the game was actually good, playing a turn-based strategy game instead of an action-adventure game was a surprise. In the years that followed, Ubisoft tried to reimagine the series, but never truly succeeded. Yet, Battles of Prince of Persia surely was a very weird spin-off.
With the first tactical game in the Prince of Persia universe.
Metroid and Super Metroid are considered to be some of the best games ever created. But many of you strongly favor the Metroid Prime series that made its debut on the Nintendo GameCube. Metroid Prime plays like a first-person shooter, but stays true to the puzzle, adventure, and Metroidvania elements the series became famous for. Huge was the surprise when Metroid Prime came to the Nintendo DS. We are not talking about Metroid Prime Hunters, but about a spin-off called Metroid Prime Pinball. The game still has a story and a final boss to beat, but you play it as a pinball game. We get that Samus likes to roll around as a ball, but this is just ridiculous. The Pokemon series started on the classic Game Boy. Over the years, these games have become a global phenomenon. All over the world, gamers have been capturing Pokemon in their own backyard, maybe on their phone or on their Nintendo handheld system. Either way, it's all about capturing these small critters and leveling them up to become the greatest Pokemon trainer the world has ever seen. Or you play Pokemon Snap, in which you earn points for taking photos of Pokemon in their natural habitat. Yes, in this Nintendo 64 game, you were a photographer, taking pictures of small virtual creatures. At least the collecting aspect was kept alive. However, don't get us wrong, we absolutely love this slightly weird Pokemon spin-off.
This is my story. It'll go the way I want it.
We know we already mentioned the Final Fantasy series, but we felt we had to include this one as well. As you know, the franchise is all about amazing deep stories, role-playing, relationships, and awesome fights. Final Fantasy brought the JRPG genre to the West and opened the gates for many other franchises. And suddenly, there was music! Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy is a rhythm game for the Nintendo 3DS and iOS. It has the characters and is based on the first 13 games in the series. Instead of role-playing, you're supposed to tap your screen rhythmically. Yes, there's a plot, but it's so thin that it would make a true RPG fan cry. However, Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy is a nice rhythm game. Even though it's a weird spin-off, it's still a good one. Ever since Kirby ventured into Dreamland for the first time on the Nintendo Game Boy, the series has been about platforming and absorbing powers. This concept has been a part of basically all the games in the series. Most of these games are side-scrolling platformers, but Kirby is a game from Nintendo, so of course it had some crazy spin-offs. On the GameCube, there was only Kirby Air Ride, a racing game. But one of the most remarkable spin-offs is Kirby's Dream Course for the Super Nintendo. This was a miniature golf game played from an isometric perspective. Kirby can obtain powers from his enemies, and the final enemy ultimately becomes the hole to finish the game. And there you have it, 10 spin-offs that are kinda weird. What's not weird is if you follow us on social media and check out our channel for a whole lot more videos about games. See you next time.